Mark Williamson was my manager when I was a tech evangelist at Dash Navigation. And so there was one thing that I think is very much related to your question. There's something else that has been really impactful for me too, that he talked about. But the thing that really was the best advice that I think I got that was very succinct was really just when you go into a meeting or when you go into a discussion, imagine what each person in that room is thinking. And I think this is something where we all get caught up in our own heads too much, and we have like an agenda or we have a desire or like an end goal that we're trying to get to, but we're not actually trying to understand that why is everybody here at this table right now, right? Like, why is everybody in this conversation? And what are the things that they're bringing to the table that are not only their own desires, but also their own biases and things like that. And so it's a very hard skill because, like, I think, you know, part of the reason why humans are not good at complexity is because we have a limit on the number of people that we can model in our heads. But it also is a benefit that we have over other animals, right? Like I think it's the Dunbar number is 150, where you can only understand in a group of 150 how any two people are related to each other. So that's the problem, is that the reason why we can do that is because we can model other people's brains in our heads, right? The problem is that because we work with more than 150 people, potentially, right, or we've interacted with more than 150 people, it gets harder and harder to do that type of modeling. I think that's why like close-knit teams are so interesting, because you actually start to build those models in your head. And so I can, you know, based on the people that I work with, say at Philosophy, if you were to ask me a question, I could answer how they would answer and how I would answer, based on my understanding of their mental models, right? And so I think just getting into that space of trying to understand how everybody is, I think not only allows you to make more effective decisions because you can try to get ahead of maybe something where you are just really thinking from your own standpoint or your own point of view. But I think this is related to the fact too that I try to think like Venkatesh Rao, who's a blogger at Ribbon Farm that I have a lot of respect for. Him and a couple other people I had talked about this, but you know, people that you really respect a lot, that you've read an awful lot about, you tend to have them as like these like idols in your head. And you can always hear what they're saying about what you're doing right now. So I think like, anyways, this is a long way to get back to what Mark Williamson originally told me, which was really just like trying to understand what people are doing and why they're there and trying to apply that to the situation you have. I think has branched out into all these things for me about also just understanding like mental models in general, like how do you use them to your advantage? Like how do you help set mental models within the room? And there's a lot of techniques for this. Like, I don't know if you've ever heard of I think it's the 6 hats. So like, anyways, 6 hats is really just a way that you can get everybody into the same mental model within a team, within a meeting, so that you don't have like randomness in mental models. Same thing with like, you know, agile is a mental model, but everybody has different concepts. And same thing with balanced team. Like when you talk about how engineers, designers, and product people all work together, they all bring a different mindset to it. And so I think just doing a better job of trying to understand the other people's mindsets, and then working with those mindsets and even potentially priming mindsets is a really, really interesting thing. And it all stems from that advice that Mark Williamson gave me like a long time ago.